Our guest in this segment is Matthew Miller, the Hall of Famer. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Can't imagine what it would have been like, hearing, what you're talking about and having been there, and the word courage. It
doesn't touch it.
No, and the fear that is there, but you go forward. This is what I'm here to do. No matter what the outcome may be. That's incredible. And 23 years old to do that. 20, 21.
Well, 17.
22,
right?
23. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
One of my neighbor's father was in World War II. He had lied about his age. He got in as a 17-year-old, and he passed away this past year. But I met him a couple of times. He didn't live in our neighborhood with his son, but he would visit regularly. And whenever he would go walking about the neighborhood at about a half a mile per hour at his elderly age, great personality, told some great stories about what that life was like. But the amazing part of that is just the call to duty to lie about your age, to go volunteer, to potentially die in defense of your country. It's a sacrifice that most aren't called to make, but during World War II, when there was a draft, it was the call to make. And as I said, I had 3 uncles who were in World War II, 2 in the Pacific, 1 in Europe. Fortunately, they all came home, and those folks did what so many veterans did, which is they got home, they went back to work if they'd had a job beforehand. If not, they found a new one, and they did that job. And from the case of 2 of my uncles, one was in a mill, one ended up going to GI Bill and got his degree that way and went to work for the federal government, and the other one was a chef. And became quite a famous world famous chef at that. If there were cooking shows back in the day, he'd have been one of the guys on TV participating in those things. But that's what they did. They just kind of went to work, paid their taxes, raised their families, and never talked about what they did in World War II.
And when they signed up, then the conditions of the enlistment were for the duration of the war plus 6 months. They weren't signing up for a term of X number of years.
2 years, whatever,
it was for the duration of the war plus 6 months. So,
Matt, let's talk about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I think you brought in some apple dumplings.
I brought you those apple dumplings. We had talked about it a couple of weeks back, and I said I am definitely going to stop by and get some, and I can tell you they are delicious. My wife and I split one last night, put it in the oven, got it warmed up a little bit, and then added some ice cream, and they are good. So I encourage you, go get them between 4 and 8 at the Martinsburg High School cafeteria, I believe both today and tomorrow, and then, of course, through the weekend at the Mountain State Apple Harvest Festival. They're excellent.
I told Matt, he told me he was headed that way. I said, you got to get me a delivery of apple dumplings, man.
Do you have to stand in line at the cafeteria with
No,
with the
yesterday
kids?
it was, I'm trying to think of what time I went through, probably 6 o'clock-ish, and as I walked through, maybe not even that late, walked in, boom, picked them up and left. I asked the gentleman that was there, who is a dad who also helped to make them, and he said for about the last half hour it had been pretty steady, but I didn't have to stand in line at all. So go to the cafeteria, pick them up. They're waiting for you.
They're amazing.
Put them in a bag, and off you go.
If you just moved to the area and you want to know what this week is about with Apple Harvest Festival, and you want to be a part of the community, the first thing you have to do is buy apple dumplings. And they're just crazy good.
Yep, you'll go back for more.
What do you have going on, Matt? I know you got a few camps that you do every summer, and some other things that you do during the time when it's not summer.
Yeah, camps are a big thing in our summer months, and then during the school year, our biggest thing are our Bible study clubs. We call them huddles. Obviously, you use sports terms, right? And those are going strong in 14 of our area schools, middle schools, high schools, and Shepherd University. And then one of our big events that we do each fall is called Fields of Faith, and it is something that FCA clubs, if you will call them that, all across the country and around the world do. Typically in the fall, there are some groups that elect to do them in the springtime. They'll do them at a baseball field as opposed to maybe a football field or a gymnasium or that sort of thing. And this year we're doing our Fields of Faith. This will be our 4th one now since I've been involved, and we're doing it at the Berkeley County Youth Fair. grounds. So we've got a great group of youth pastors from around our area that are helping to get behind it and support it, and we're looking forward to having a great group of everybody come. It'll be a lot of teens that'll be sharing their testimonies, that'll be leading with the worship band. Then we do have a guest speaker, and I'll tell you more about him in a few minutes, but we're going to have hopefully a couple of the college students that will be able to share as well. So it'll just be a great evening to have the entire community come out and be able to hear a little bit about how God's working in hearts and lives.
You meet with a lot of young people on a regular basis, Matt, and I know at some schools where you're established, you have a bigger turnout than others. Routinely, what are the teens you're working with looking for right now?
I think they're looking for answers, some stability in a chaotic, hectic life that is around. We have several of our students that come are already participating in activities at a local church with a local youth group, and we give them an outlet within the school to be able to gather together, encourage one another, and then step out and serve the Lord within their school. But there are a lot of others that don't necessarily have that in their background, but are invited by their teammates or classmates, and they come and get a chance to hear God's word, and many of them continue to come back and continue to hear. And I think it is the answers that they're looking for to a lot of life's questions.
I was looking at a study that was done, I guess about 2 weeks ago. Not the study, but I was looking at the results about 2 weeks ago. Fairly recent study too, and it correlated the breakdown of the family structure in America to the belief in God and religious beliefs. And it's been an inverted relationship as time has gone by. The stronger the family structure, the more there was an investment in God by the young person in the family, right? The kids. And the less the family structure, the less the relationship there was with faith. Are you seeing a similar relationship as you meet with these kids, or does it not get quite deep into that correlation? Yeah,
to be honest, I couldn't tell you. I'm not deep enough into some of the relationships with kids that say our coaches and teachers that oversee our huddle groups are, that see the students every day. So I don't know a lot about home lives and how that may play out. But clearly there is a lot of what you're talking about in our society where it's two moms, two dads, one mom, no dad, whatever the situation may be. That family structure is certainly deteriorated, as you mentioned, and that does create an issue with kids. They again end up, I think, kind of looking for some stability. What is it out there that can bring some really the only satisfaction that I would say you'll find in life that truly satisfies is that relationship with the Lord.
Excuse me. How does a new kid come to his first meeting typically? They just show up and hang out in the back and listen? What's that dynamic?
Typically, we'll try to do a little bit of a game of some sort, a little introduction thing. So, right, if someone comes and they've never come before, hopefully, and usually they've been invited in some way, or perhaps they've heard an announcement or seen a poster or something on a wall and decided to come. But we'll try to get them involved right away with some kind of a game so they'll get to meet some other students and maybe not feel like they're on the outside. And then typically, and especially on our high school levels, our middle schools we're working on as well. A lot of times it's a student-led Bible study. So we have leaders in the club, so 3, 4, 5, 6 students that take leadership of their club, and so we work with them and they'll present that Bible study. And so even for someone new coming in, it's not like old man Matt is standing there preaching at you, but it's one of your peers that is sharing the word with you, and then we get a chance to talk about it, and usually share some donuts at the end, because we meet a lot of times in the mornings. So it'll be, hey, grab a donut as you're headed out to your first period class. So we try to just meet them and greet them as they come in.
Wasn't Old Man Matt a character in one of those Scooby-Doo episodes? It's Old Man Matt once again.
Ruh-roh, Reggie.
So how do you deal with the differences between, even within Christianity, Catholicism and Church of Christ are like
Right.
Same Christianity, got different dogma. So if it's student led, do they end up having those discussions, or does it not get that granular?
Again, we try to stay out of the weeds, if you will. FCA, if you ever want to know, we do have a website, EPWV, so EP for Eastern Panhandle, WV, West Virginia, FCA.org. And you could also just look up FCA.org as a whole, and you can see more information. But FCA, in our doctrinal statement, keeps things basic and to the point of who God is, of a relationship with Jesus Christ that brings about salvation, as He paid the price for our sins on the cross. And then, our goal then is to grow in our relationship with Christ, and we want to get you connected to a local church, and then that's where the Spirit of God needs to work in your life. So we've got kids that are coming from all different kind of churches, but when it comes to certain elements of whatever it may be, spiritual gifts or baptisms or other things, we're pointing you to Jesus Christ, to His Word, and to a local church.
How many huddles are you involved in now, Matt?
Right now, about 14 that are in the 3 counties, Berkeley, Morgan, and Jefferson. We had a huddle at Cape and Bridge Middle that has not been able to continue so far this year. Our teacher that was a supervisor overseeing that has moved to a different school, and so we're still trying to get back in up there and working to get into Hampshire County High School also. So in all, through the 4 counties, I believe it's 23 schools that we could be involved in, and we're in about 14 now, so we still have 9 that we would love to be able to get something going in.
And you have to have a teacher sponsor or a faculty sponsor of some sort at each school?
Yes, we'll have someone at the school that oversees things. Typically it might be their classroom, or they'll make sure that we can use the auditorium or a library, a cafeteria, wherever it may be, to be able to hold meetings. And then they are the ones that will be a little more in tune with their student leadership and so forth. And then my role as an area director, we've also got a couple of area representatives that will then go in and help to facilitate and encourage and provide Bibles and materials and whatever may be needed for the club itself.
For many people, I think the introduction to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes obviously was through sports, and it was the huddles that you see at the end of a football game. Mm-hmm. For instance, where the players from both teams will get together, kneel down in the middle of the field, and then there will be a prayer. Either the cameras don't show that as much now, or the students are storming the field so much now that it gets swallowed up, whatever. But does that still happen much?
It still does. I've noticed a few videos here and there before or after some college games and or some of the NFL games as well. What I think you see a lot now is in the pregame, you'll see a lot of players that will make their way to a particular spot on the field, whether it's in the end zone or a particular yard line that holds some meaning for them, that they'll drop to that knee and say a prayer leading into the game.
Weren't those struck down by the courts a couple of years ago?
They're not struck down in the sense that they're not supposed to be, I guess, adult-led, if you will. Okay. But again, a student-led prayer. So to have those students
the team
come
prayer
together,
you can't do anymore. Or can you? Can one?
You can if the student leads it.
Right. Again, okay. It's all about students have that right and that opportunity, and so if they call their teammates together, hey, let's pray, then they can do that.
Coach can't lead it, but a student can. And
how are the student leaders chosen within the different school groups?
Usually they step forward themselves.
Self-select.
It's as they come in, maybe as a freshman, or we're in our middle schools as well with middle school athletics, and so it's been neat to see some of those young people that by the time they're a freshman and a sophomore, they've been a part of FCA now for 3-4 years if they started in 6th grade, and so they know what it's about, and they're stepping forward going, hey, I'd really like to be able to be a part of our leadership and help share my faith.
Must one be an athlete to be part of FCA?
No, not at all. If they are a student and want to come, we invite them to come. If they're friends with an athlete, they'll probably get invited. However it would be. But no, the only thing to know is when you do come, obviously many of our references are going to be athletic. There are plenty of athletic references in the New Testament as Paul talks about running the race and finishing the race and having discipline and so forth. So we're going to look at all of those elements of life. If we're talking about the importance of team, when you think of a church body, it's really a team. When you think of in integrity, we're going to talk about it from probably an athletic standpoint of what that means, and so those references will tend to be more athletic.
Speaking of athletic and sports, college football, Matt, is a whole different world than it used to be. And I think it's actually, I don't even know why we call it college anymore. It's really professional football. And some of these kids actually make more in college than they'll make if they get a rookie contract in the NFL as a lower draft pick. Do you still follow college football as much as you were when you were a sports director here?
You may keep a kid in college longer now, right? They used to want to get out, I'll go to
ninth
school
year seniors
right,
now.
But I'm like, if I'm making more in college, I may just stay that extra year. No, it's crazy. Who was it the other day? I just read an article about a particular coach commenting that the Ohio State and Oregon matchup was a matchup of two $20 million teams. Yeah. And you think about that and go, wow, that's hard to imagine. Yeah, I still follow it. I'll still, watch. In fact, we just did a WVU game on Saturday. Each fall, our state Fellowship of Christian Athlete group, our president or leader out of director, I guess you'd say state director, is Keith Tyler out of Charleston, and Brett Floyd is in the Beckley area, and that they work together with WVU, and we have an FCA day. So we had 400 student athletes and coaches and others from Fellowship of Christian Athletes all over the state that came to be a part of the WVU game this past Saturday night. And that's an awesome event. Yeah, a tough loss. The game certainly didn't go the way we wanted, but all the things leading up to our worship time, our guest speaker, Steve Grant, former linebacker for the Mountaineers and played with the Colts then back in the 90s. So we had a great time, and we work well together with them. So, yep, definitely still follow. And, of course, Shepherd on the local level. Sure. I think, to me, that's where hopefully all of this ends up driving folks is to the more
local team.
Yeah, the more local, the better.
I'm watching on Saturday, and Pitt is hosting Cal Berkeley in an Atlantic Coast Conference game in Pennsylvania. Cal is literally on the Pacific Ocean, and at that same time, about an hour after that, Penn State is at USC in a Big Ten game on the West Coast in California. Pitt and Penn State don't play, and they're in Pennsylvania. Both of them are in conferences now with California teams, while West Virginia is playing an Iowa team 60 miles from Pitt and a couple hours from Penn State, and they don't play each other unless they get an out-of-conference schedule like they have this year.
But that may not last much longer,
That's just a gentleman's agreement,
yeah.
Right? That's not a conference agreement.
Right.
And that's college football today, that the Pacific Coast is in the Atlantic Coast Conference and the Big Ten, which is a traditional Midwestern conference.
And you add all of that comes about because of all of the money that's involved. And where does a lot of the money come from? It's those huge TV contracts and so forth. And what that also does is, the fan is the last one thought about, right? And so in a situation like this, it's April when our FCA folks help to coordinate and organize with WVU, which game are we going to do and so forth. Well, they chose Iowa State. When's the kickoff? We don't know until 2 weeks ahead. Oh, it's 8 p.m. So we got back at 4 a.m. On Saturday to go watch this game. It's frustrating.
Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia should be in the same conference.
Yes.
Cal and USC should be in the same conference.
Yes.
This is just madness. It makes no sense whatsoever. No. Hey, we have a final minute coming up, too. Back with more in 2 minutes.
Give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope.
Matt Miller, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. How can you make a donation?
Make a donation. Just go to our website, epwvfca.org. You'll see a link there where you can make a donation. And check out our Instagram or our Facebook page with more information on our Fields of Faith. It's next Sunday, October 27th at the Berkeley County Youth Fairgrounds.
And thank you for getting the apple dumplings and doing the road work.
No problem.
Much appreciated. Mr. Gilstrap, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's like you never left.
Yep.
3 weeks ago. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and to our producer, the sports Dr. Colin McLaughlin. The Dave Ramsey Show is next. This is Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg and TV 10, and we'll talk to you again in 22 short hours.